Howdy folks, Joe Howard here. All right, so before we get started with this week's episode, WPMRR community, just at community.wpmrr.com. I was on vacation last week, so I was totally off Slack. I was kind of out of the community last week. We do have some big planned changes to the community, just based on feedback, based on our goals and our mission at the community. So you'll see some changes there in the next few weeks. I have those planned out for the most part now, and we'll be executing on those coming up here in a little bit. But I'm just kind of diving back into that this week. But Rene, who's on today's episode, is going to be doing an AMA there. So she had a ton of really actionable and solid content around email marketing, how to make sure your deliverability is solid, subject lines, you want to send out, broadcast or campaign emails, or how do you do automation, which one should you lean on, towards a ton of stuff there. So if you have follow-up questions after today's episode, just go to community.wpmrr.com and ask her some questions there in the comments. WPMRR Summit. Again, I was out last week, so not a ton of updates as of right now because I got to dive back into things this week. But one quick update is we have, I believe, 95% or so of speakers who were asked to speak this year have confirmed. So very exciting. We may have one or two slots still left that I got to plug and play into, but for the most part, we are good to go. So Brian and I are really excited about that, and we're going to be starting to move forward with all that stuff, getting that content ready for you. So community.wpmrr.com. When you sign up for the community, you're automatically registered for this year's summit, virtual summit, September 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. All right, that is it for the preamble. Let's get to today's episode. I got the chance today to chat with Rene Morozowich. So Rene is a freelancer. She does website management. She does email marketing. She does website builds. A lot of the usual stuff you hear around what freelancers are working on when it comes to WordPress. I kind of dived a lot into the care plan stuff and the website management subscription and stuff because I was very interested in hearing about what it's like for a solo person to do a lot of that. So we spent the first 10, 15 minutes of this episode talking more about that. And then we kind of shifted more into the email marketing piece of things, which is really what I wanted to talk to her about because she knows just a ton around email marketing. Halfway through our conversation, I actually started telling her about some of the things we do at WP Buffs in terms of the emails we send, and she helped out a little bit in terms of some suggestions about how to personalize your emails a little bit better and how to just make our email more valuable for folks who have allowed us access to their inbox. How do we respect their inboxes more? How do we provide them more value? So I learned a ton personally in this episode. So cool. Let's get to the podcast episode with Rene Morozowich. Enjoy today's episode. All right, we are live this week with Rene Morozowich. Rene, tell folks a little bit about what you do in the WordPress space.
Hey, Joe. Thanks so much for having me. So I am a freelancer. I work outside of Pittsburgh in the suburbs, and I work with small businesses, solo people, medium-sized businesses sometimes. It depends. I do a little bit of work for other agencies, but I build websites, maintain websites, and on occasion I will help somebody finish up a website that somebody else has started, but that's not the best thing ever. But I like to be helpful, so I teach some classes at the community college, and I also run the WordPress meetup along with Terry, and we haven't had a meetup in a while, but hopefully we'll get back to that soon. And I like to speak at WordCamps. I spoke at WordFest recently. So all that kind of stuff, all the things. I do all the things.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I know that. So you're a WordPress Pittsburgh meetup organizer. You speak at WordCamps and you speak at, I guess, WordPress related events like WordFest. How was WordFest this year? How was the 24-hour WordFest?
It was so nice. Everybody was so nice. Sometimes I do a thing where I think I'm going to do something and then I sign up for it and then I think, oh no, why did I do that? So this happened this time. My talk was actually, not WordPress related, but more mental health related. So it was about grief, and I had said that I could do it live. And, as it got closer, I thought, oh my gosh, why did I do that? But it went really well. It was very nice, well received. And again, just the community was really nice and supportive. Slack group, everybody there. So it was good. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, very cool. I think that's the perfect audience to give a talk like that on. The WordPress community in general is pretty welcoming and open, but definitely like a WordPress community is like super mental health focused. So, and especially, I think there's probably a little more pressure when you're giving it live as opposed to like giving it pre-recorded where you can maybe like edit it or, practice
or you
it a
could
little
pause,
bit more.
you could cry. So I did a recording also. I did a recording on Monday that I spoke on Friday, and it took me five takes to do the recording.
Wow.
But I like to do it just in case, I get hit by a bus or anything like that. It's also good to just have a recording, or for people who can't come.
Yeah, you're better prepared than I am. I usually am doing things last minute and kind of like, it'll work out fine. But it's probably, I should be as prepared as you are. So cool. Thank you for hopping on this week on the pod. I'm excited to talk to you. I always like chatting with people who do like care plans and maintenance work, but especially as freelancers and people who are really doing a lot of that work themselves. So that's the first thing I kind of wanted to dig into before we do a little bit more email marketing talk, because you left some great notes about stuff you want to talk about there. That sounds really cool too. But care plan stuff as an individual, how has that been since you've started doing care plan work?
It's always a learning curve. So I recently just learned that I should be billing on the same day each month, all of my clients on the same day, and also should be billing. So I just started doing biannual billing. So if you don't want to pay monthly, I let you pay twice a year. Okay. And I did maybe 6 people wanted to do that. So that was fine. And I set them all up, but all in different months. And then I got to the point where I was like, oh no, I don't know who's coming and who's going. And I stopped and regrouped. And so now you get a bill in January and a bill in July. So just keeping that more consistent. I've been doing a lot of work with like systems and processes. I'm in a Slack group where we like to talk about, documenting our business and all that good stuff. So I started setting up some of those things as well. And that's been really helpful, and kind of just keeping everything, again, like systematized. So who gets what and when. I do a little bit of hosting as well. So, how that works. And then I started working with kind of an assistant, I guess. So it's forced me to, document things so that I can explain things clearly to her so she understands. But also just, it makes you think about going forward about, how many hosts am I going to support? And what are the types of, how many page builders am I going to support, or things like that? Or, do you get to a point maybe where you don't take on other sites, only sites that you build? So you kind of get to a certain point where now you start to think about what's next and how do I do this well in bulk, I guess. So. Yeah.
Tell me about charging twice a year. What happens if someone signs up in March? Do they pay for like March through July initially, and then they go on the biannual?
I think so. Yes. I think that'll be the plan. Yeah. Just a kind of a couple months, or, depending on, if it's June, okay, we can kind of just work it in there. But, and I think rolling in for the people who it makes sense to do hosting for. Some people just want a one-stop shop. They don't want to have, 50 different logins and things like that. And really, you're answering your questions anyway. They're not going to call the host when they have a problem. They're going to call me anyway. So kind of directing people and, just making it easier on myself is what I'd like to do.
I think making it easy on yourself is like one of the most important things you can do, especially when you're working solo, because if things get complex, a few people may be able to come in and solve this big problem, but I don't know about you, I won't speak for you, but for me, if something gets too complicated, I won't know how to do it, or I won't want to do it. So I need to keep things simple, definitely for myself. Cool. And it sounds like do you have plans to kind of stay doing things yourself? Or you said you hired kind of one person. Is that like the direction you're going in? Or are you just kind of maybe one person's fine for now?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I taught a class. I've been teaching a non-credit class. I teach a credit class and a non-credit class at community college. And I taught a non-credit class, and there was a woman in my class. It was last spring. And she was really great. She was on the ball, and, she was just taking the course because she wanted to learn. She was a stay-at-home mom, had a couple young kids, and afterwards I reached out to her and I said, hey, do you want to do some other work? Just a couple hours a week here and there. But it's, I think, a good experience because that's a totally different thing also, right? Doing the work yourself versus showing someone else how to do the work and then letting them do it, and just how they sometimes do things differently than you would. and the things that you don't think of. So I guess kind of like building that management skill is yet another business skill. But I don't know. I don't think I want to get really big. I don't think I really want to be that person who, has a big agency and does all the things. So I think that actually my next step is I just signed up today for some specializing coaching. So I'll be thinking about that in the next months ahead.
Yeah, very cool. I think there are so many people in the WordPress space who do like care plans, like website management subscription, and it's just them, or it's just them and like maybe a contractor or two or three, and they run profitable businesses. They run stress-free businesses for the most part. They run businesses that are successful, and a lot, often size doesn't dictate success. I think for a lot of people, it's actually the opposite. Like it's like, I just want to like do my thing. Like I want to work on the things I want to work on, and I don't want to have to like manage a bunch of people. So I think that's cool. And to be able to get into website management when you don't have a big team, I think is like really important to talk about, because like care plan stuff is for everybody. It's not just for a team of 100 people. It's like for a team of one person can totally do this. A little WordPress, you can set up some tools and good systems like you're setting up, and you can totally get into it. So that's awesome. How long have you been doing care plan work? Is it more of a recent addition, or have you been doing it for a while?
I started all of this in 2017, and at the time I started working for an agency, so I took care of their sites. Their sites were kind of in a state of a huge hot mess, so I carefully cleaned all of the sites and migrated them and set them up with like a structure. So that was kind of my first experience, and then as I grew and went along and started building sites and just got referrals from other people, I started maintaining sites that I didn't build. And again, maybe that's not the direction to go forever, but, it let me build a nice base. So I guess I've been doing it all along, but I do want to say that I was really hesitant at first to do it, because I had this kind of thought of like, I don't know if you've worked in any corporate places before, but I've worked at quite a few, and I didn't want to be tied to people. And I was really worried that like, if I took on all these maintenance clients and then I ended up not liking them, that it would be really terrible. But I think what's happened is kind of the opposite. I don't mind working with people. I actually like working with people ongoing. It's just that I don't want to work with them, any one person, for 40 hours a week. So it took me a while to realize that. And now that I have, it's good. And I do like when people stay with me, because I like to see that they're keeping their sites maintained. I did all this work to build a site. If they just go off and do their own thing and never update the site again, it makes me sad.
Yeah, I think it's super. I want to touch back on that point of like working with the client for 40 hours a week, because I really like the care plan space. I think one of the reasons I really like it is because like I had this, I was thinking early on, like, do I want to like offer like an enterprise level offering at WP Buffs? Like it's a good way to generate revenue. Like, big companies will pay you a lot of money for like almost a full-time person or like 3 full-time people. That's what a lot of the enterprise agencies in the WordPress space do, right? They have like 5 clients and they're all like Fortune 500 companies, and they just pay them like $100,000 a month. And it's like, okay, there's our business, but you're like super tied to that client, and like you're almost at like the beck and call of that client. And I never wanted to do that, because I've worked in corporate environments before, and I was like, no, that sounds like literally the reason for not doing it was like almost financially independent. It was like, I just don't want to, it's not the business I want to build. So I'm totally with you. And with care plans, for the most part, I guess you could do an enterprise level offering. I think that's more like a retainer sort of situation. Like I think selling like a care plan to like big clients is like a little harder, that verbiage, like it's more retainer kind of language. But the ability to, our average care plan is like $200 a month. Like at that level, like you're not tied to, like you can work with a few different clients, and you can work with people on an ongoing basis. And it's not like so much that like people are so tied to you for 40 hours a month, or 40 hours a week, but you can still kind of work with a variety of clients. So I totally resonate with that.
It's nice when some people come along, you haven't heard from them in some months, and like, hey, we wanted to add this new feature, do this thing, and great. And then you talk with them and you do the thing, and everybody feels good because they have the thing done. And then they go off and go back to their business for a while, and you don't hear from them and again, it's not that I don't like to hear from my clients, but it's just that thing of like working with the same person, for some, like working at a business where, that's all. It's just you and your coworkers.
Yeah.
It scares me.
Yeah, I'm
Not
with
for
you.
me.
Have you worked with any care plan clients that, and I guess you can kind of share what you want to here, but have you worked with care plan clients who didn't end up wanting to work with, and then it was like kind of it turned out to be a pain in the butt and you had to like find a way to like separate yourself from them or like transition them somewhere else or something?
I've had a couple people who I built the site for, and then they did not opt in. So that was fine. I've had some people where they opted in at first and then left for whatever reason and then came back. So that's kind of nice too, because again, like what I really like is keeping good care of your site. So if you go off and then you don't update it for 3 months and then you come back to me, I'm glad you're back, because then I can clean it back up again. Then I can make sure that, it's good. So that's a little bit weird, but yeah, nobody really, there is one client that I did try to fire at one point. It didn't work out very well, and I still have them. They're nice, maybe just not a great fit for me, but it's okay right now. We restructured the offering to fit in with my other offerings. It was kind of a one-off situation. So that did help where, I didn't have so many clients doing one-off this, one-off that. I standardized them into my process, and that has helped. So,
Cool.
But I have learned that when you're getting rid of people, you need to be really clear, because they don't want to leave.
Yeah, I'm totally. That's happened to us at WP Buffs for sure. I mean, we've probably had not a ton of that happen, but definitely there are memories of like, I don't know, like 3 years ago, we had a big client. They had like 50 sites with us or something. So it was like a significant, like one client with 50 sites. So it was a significant client for us. That probably represented like, I don't know, like 10% of our monthly revenue at that point.
Wow.
So it was like, significant. And we ended up deciding to let them go. I think restructuring is also a good, maybe better in some cases, because if you can keep that client and keep the revenue coming in, but restructure it in a way that just makes more sense for everyone, that's good. Reset expectations, all that's good.
Right.
We just had to end up separating ourselves from the client, and it was good for everybody. Not as good for our revenue in the short term, but it allowed us to step back and commit more of our time and energy into like finding clients that were better fits for us. So I think actually that restructuring and letting go of clients who aren't good is a good thing for everybody, including the client who may not be super happy in the short term, but once you've restructured and they're getting better service because they've allowed you the space to make changes that are going to be good for you and thus for the client, they're going to be happier, 6 months later, as opposed to maybe this month it's not as good because we're like
it's not the same.
Having to spend time figuring this stuff out. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm the client. I'm always right. But like, hey, I'm doing this for both of us. And so it's and I think it's definitely important as a solo person to be able to do that, because it all falls to you, right? It's like, if you don't do it, nobody will. And so you kind of have to make all the hard choices and hard decisions when you're that size. So.
But it's kind of like a thing where if you take clients who aren't a good fit for you, why are you in business for yourself anyway? Aren't you in business for yourself so that you can create a situation where you do your best work and the client is happy? And then if you're taking clients that aren't good fits, it just doesn't make sense.
Yes.
There's a lot of clients out there. There's a lot of websites. There's a lot of bad websites. There's a lot of work to do. So there is an abundance, so you don't have to take, I understand everybody's in a different financial situation, but I don't believe in the scarcity model. I believe in an abundance sort of mindset. Yeah,
I think a lot of people will think they have to take on a client that maybe they don't necessarily want to work with, especially when they're early on in their business, because they're like, I need revenue. Like, you're going to pay me money? Like, okay, whatever you need, I'll give it to you. But I think that at least what we've found, and I'm sure a lot of people have found this, is that if you bring on clients that really aren't a good fit for either you, like as a personality type, or just the kind of work they need isn't exactly going to work under your model. And care plans work because they're so systemized, right? Because they're so process driven. Like, that's super important. If they're not going to work in that, they're probably going to like leave pretty soon after. They're going to, their churn rate of those kind of clients is going to be really high. Their lifetime value is not going to be very high because they don't stay with you for very long. they're going to be that client that like, they pay you, whatever, 5% of your revenue every month, but they take up like 20% of your support bandwidth every month. So it totally doesn't even make sense to have them. You're paying for them to be a client. Like they're probably not being profitable on that client. So there's a lot of reasons that, clients, when they're not a good fit, like there's a lot of reasons why you don't want to work with them, not just because they cause you a little bit of stress. There's like 5, I could think of the 5 reasons, right? You don't want to work with them. So I think it's probably important to stay picky at the beginning, and maybe it even goes back to like when I started WP Buffs, it was like, on the side, like I was working a full-time job. Like I slowly transitioned into WP Buffs, and I think it allowed me to like learn those lessons pretty quickly and give myself space to like not necessarily have to take on a lot of those clients, although it didn't always work. Obviously, I just told that story that I did that and it didn't work out, but we learned from it. But to not do that too much and to learn quickly from those mistakes and to like decide like high quality clients, let's raise our prices. Let's go after like higher quality clients.
I think it just takes time. I think a lot of times, I think you just don't know. You don't know because you don't have that sort of like intuition. You're not in tune to red flags really the same way you are later on. Like later on, you're like, you have an eye for them. You're like, that's a red flag. And you can see it really clearly. But at the beginning, you haven't done this or you haven't done that. And you do want to get experience. So you take some things on that, maybe in the back of your mind, you think, okay, maybe this might not be a good fit. But I think they're all really important learning experiences. All of the things that have happened to me that, like one of my first clients I built a website for, and I forgot to ask about additional domains, and they had like 30 additional domains at Network Solutions on some kind of old, oh my God, they were using ASP before the WordPress site. Oh, the hours that I spent on it, but now I know. So it was an expensive lesson, but it was a lesson.
Yeah, I think those expensive and non-expensive lessons have to be kind of like, you have to be ready for those. Like those have to be built into like your mental state when you're starting a business, because they are gonna come, whether it's today, whether it's next week. Hell, we still have those, right? It's
still,
like,
exactly.
It always happens. So that's part of, it's like the learning curve, right? It's like, if you want to go from like A to B, like you're not just going to like poop, like go straight there.
Right.
People who are listening on the actual podcast can't see me, but I'm pointing like a linear line straight up and to the right. I don't know which way people, anyway, like it dips right before it goes up. So it's like this, like it's going to get worse before it gets better, but that's the learning. Like that's how you figure out like how to do it well, or how to do it effectively, or how to do it profitably, or just whatever, your goal is with something, a project. That's how you eventually like get an even like higher degree curve, in the future, because you're able to like take those learnings. So, and to like mentally prepare for that is important, I think. I mean, we're talking about a little bit about mental health at the beginning of this. It's like, if you're expecting everything to go perfectly and then nothing goes perfcly, like you're going to probably have like mental health challenges, because you're just like, everything is going to go perfectly. Like I'm the best. Oh, I'm not the best. I suck at everything a little bit. That's tough. But if you start off like, all right, things are maybe going to suck for a little bit, and I'm probably going to suck for a little bit, like, cause I'm just learning this, but like, I'll get better. And it's like a baby, right? They crawl and they walk and then they run, and eventually they're running, but you can't just like, at least most babies don't go straight to running. So I think that's important to keep those expectations, set for yourself, so that you don't set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I know we talked about care plan stuff a lot. I was like, definitely want to talk about email marketing stuff. Well, once I get started on like website management subscriptions, I get super into it. So I'm on your website right now. People can just find it at renemzw.com, renemzw.com. So you do, website management, but you're also building websites for folks. I guess often you are managing the websites for folks whose website you built. You also help people with marketing work. So I guess a lot of the stuff you do in that marketing realm is email marketing. So tell me a little bit about like that part of the process in terms of like specifically email marketing, how you're helping clients with those. Is that a conversation you're having before you build the site, or is that a conversation you have as the site is kind of launching and you're like, okay, like you want to collect some email addresses, you're going to want to have an email list. Here's kind of emails you may want to send out. Here's what we can talk about, X, Y, and Z. What does that process look like?
Right. So when I have an initial conversation with someone, or, when they fill out a form or whatever it is to inquire, after we talk, I can kind of determine if they'll be a good client for email marketing or not. So not everybody is, I think it's incorrect to say that like everybody can benefit from email marketing. I don't necessarily think that. So if they do seem like they may benefit from it, I will offer it in the proposal. So I normally do a proposal with different packages. So, this like 3 different options. This option is, I don't want to say bare bones, but there's nothing extra in it. Like this is just what you would need to launch and get where you're going. Then the next level up would include additional things like more revisions, maybe more design, additional pages, maybe some different functionality, things like that. And then sometimes in my third package, I'll add and email marketing as well. So there's a lot to set up at the beginning. So, whether it's, creating a new account,
right.
But then doing all of the authentication, setting up, the double opt-in, doing all the branding and things like that, like in the email marketing system, and then doing the integration with the website. So how do they sign up? But then also helping the client determine what they're signing up for. So people can sign up all day long. We can put pop-ups and, sign-ups in the footer and at the end of a blog post or whatever it is. But then what? Like, what is the client going to do? Are they going to send a monthly email? Are they going to do, an RSS feed for their blog posts? Are they going to send, a welcome email with a coupon or a lead magnet or anything like that? So, there's the technical parts, but then there's also the, the content and what fits for the client. So, we just have a conversation about that, but I do include that as part of like a third package for the most part.
Yeah, cool. I think you've now talking about email marketing, and I feel like I want to ask questions about our email marketing because I think that's a good, maybe it'll be like a case study for people listening. Like, this is how WP Buff does email marketing.
Yeah.
Renee is going to help to make it better. I don't know, everything's so contextual, but maybe we could talk about it a little bit and maybe think about some things we could improve in it. Okay. So here's how our email marketing works. People come to our blog, mostly through organic search. They'll read an article. A lot of people will drive directly to our website management page or this new website build package that we offer. So we'll drive people there, but some people will opt into our email list. Most of those are downloading an ebook. So they're grabbing an ebook or they're clicking download ebook, and then a pop-up comes up that says, after they click, that says, here's your ebook. Just put your email in here to opt in. Then they are, I can't remember if it's through Zapier or if it's through the ConvertKit WordPress plugin. Somehow their email gets sent through our WordPress site to ConvertKit. They're added to a sequence in ConvertKit, and then they're sent to sequence of emails. The first email has a link right to the ebook, whichever ebook they downloaded. I think it actually has a link to all the ebooks. So everyone gets the welcome email, and you can just click that ebook that you want and get access to all of them. And then it sends an email every week that kind of goes through a separate topic. And each of those topics, it's we have one on backups and one on, security and one on website speed and one, all the basic thing. I think we have one on Gutenberg. It's for 15 weeks or something. It's just one a week. So we don't send out any email blasts right now, or we don't send what I would call a broadcast email, a single email. I'm sending an email.
Campaign, newsletter.
Sure, a campaign is how MailChimp, I think, says it. Yeah. But we just send those automated emails, and I guess each of those emails, so the backup email has a few blog posts on our blog that people can go read about backup plugins or how to do a backup, and then it has maybe a YouTube video from our channel that has, hey, if you want to go watch a video about it, you can go check out the YouTube channel. So it kind of has different sections in each one, just based on people's, I guess, medium of which they want to consume, because everyone consumes differently, right? Maybe it has a related podcast episode, so maybe the email marketing, I will add a link to this episode to email marketing email.
Yeah.
Oh, very meta.
Right.
So that's in general how we do things, but if I'm being honest, we don't do a ton of measurement on how effective those emails are. I know in general, the open rates and the click rates of every email averaged out in that email, but I don't really know for that email what it is, or for that email.
Right.
Maybe that could do a little usage. But anyway, how does that compare to other, I guess, like technologies related email marketing campaigns?
So you send 15 weeks worth of email, and those emails are just kind of general in nature. What do you want them to do? Just go back and consume that content?
What I really want them to do is I want them to either if they're a potential direct client to buy a website management subscription, or if they're a white label partner we may actually be in the middle of transitioning, because we used to have everyone book a call with us. That was our big CTA. We're actually transitioning away from that to just website, marketing copy, educational copy, help center, FAQ. It's all there. Sign up and then give you all the information on the website. So I don't know if our CTA is now book a call, but in essence, it's to either become a white label partner or to become a website management subscription direct client. And so at the bottom of every email, there's like a PS that says, for example, on the backups email, PS, we do real-time backups for every website that we manage. Click here to learn more about website management for your small business, or like for agencies and freelancers. And the agencies and freelancers one goes to the white label page, and the direct clients one goes to the care plan pricing page, just for people to sign up. So, and that, another automation that via Zapier sends folks into HubSpot. So now their emails in HubSpot. Now they're a actual lead in HubSpot. So now we've put them, they've automatically been added to HubSpot as a contact and now a lead. And we send them some sequences there that are more about, here's what it includes. Here's what, because they've signaled that they've clicked that.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
But it also, I think, that's all it does. So via ConvertKit, it doesn't change anything about the content they get in ConvertKit. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good. I think that's important, not just to have like, here's a bunch of great content just for you. Okay, thanks, bye. But and here's how we can help you with that. I would like the PS because it's not intrusive and people can kind of pick up on it, when they want. I'd wonder if you are doing any kind of automation where, how do you know if people are, or do you know if people are clicking or opening? Like, do you do something different? So for example, if you've sent me 5 emails and I have clicked on every single one, or you've sent me 5 emails and I haven't opened any, do you do anything different with those situations?
No, but I see where you're going with this.
So you could, because if I'm clicking on every single link that you have and opening every single email, I may be a warmer lead than somebody who isn't opening any. And you could even do for, because I assume you're paying for emails and sends, if you send me 10 emails and I don't open any, just send me a goodbye and unsubscribe me. Tell me I can come back later and give me a way to do that. But otherwise, don't keep paying for me because I'm not engaging with you, or this isn't the right time for me to do so. So those are some additional things you could do.
Yeah, I like that explicit advice that's like, stop paying to market to leads that are cold leads. Like, why are you paying to market to those people? It's like a blunt question, but it's like the most important question. That's what email marketing is about, right? And people who are not clicking, like, they don't want to probably be marketed to. I think I have this weird thing in my head where I'm like, but that one time, like, but it's that one email that might get them. You never know, but it never, I actually don't think it like really ever turns out that way, or at least not at a statistically significant rate that's high enough that it happens often enough that I would like be sorry that maybe one lead clicked the 10th email, but none of the other ones, but 99 out of 100 times they didn't, they're not going to. Right. So I should focus my attention on the hot ones. Yeah.
Right. And they still know where to find you if they, if you do unsubscribe it, but you can tell them, because sometimes when you say that goodbye, people, it's kind of like you break up with somebody and they're like, wait, no, you can't break up with me. So it's kind of like that. And I think people respond to it in a different way. Maybe they prioritize it differently. Like, oh, I haven't opened those emails, but there is some good content in there. You could even do in a goodbye email, a quick summary or something like that to kind of entice people. But really, I'm sure you have enough people who are clicking and engaging with things that, focusing on those people, I think is a good thing to do.
Yeah, I think probably the thing I don't feel like we do enough is email personalization.
Yes.
And I guess what I mean by that is sending or not sending email based on actions taken in previous emails. Like we send the same emails to everybody really, but we should probably be like, if someone clicks a speed ebook, we should probably be sending them more speed stuff. I think my same part of my brain comes in when I think about that, because I'm like, just because someone didn't click on a security thing, like they still need security information, right? So I'm like, how do I personalize information and send people things based on what they've already clicked to signify that they'd like that, but also give them additional things I think they will need based on that personalization, or maybe not based on the personalization. Maybe they don't know what they need, so I like still need to send them that, you know?
Yeah.
So
Well, but you don't overwhelm. Like if you overwhelm them, then I think that's harder. I think, when people, we're in this like inbound marketing age, when people are searching for something, if I'm searching for an answer to a specific question, you giving me that answer, but also giving me a bunch of other stuff, it might just make me turn off. So I would say, and whenever you said you send all the ebooks, when you send the one ebook, that is one idea and that is fine. But yes, you could segment that way and say, okay, I'm sending you your speed ebook. Here's some speed related emails. And hey, here's some other related emails as well. But you could do that over a series of time. You don't have to try to jam it all in one. You could give them the speed related stuff, maybe 4 or 5 emails, then maybe the 6th email is like, oh, hey, and if you're concerned about speed, you may also be concerned about yada, 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 yada. So you could kind of build on it from there. So that is a way if you wanted to segment your audience.
That's a really good point about overwhelming people, because I think like I want to give people a bunch of stuff that I think they need, but I think I need to like meet them where they are in terms of their attention span or their mental bandwidth. And if they clicked like speed, sure, maybe they need information still about backups and security, and they need information about our website edits but they've signified like their top pain point or their top priority thing. So let me just try and like cement myself in there, and then maybe down the line there's more time to educate, because we do, care plan stuff. So it really is around educating on that whole solution and why it's good for people. So, but there's always time for that. Like that's kind of part of the education that we give people. So let's tackle that high priority thing, which is probably why they'll sign up in the first place, right? If they're looking at speed, they're like, I need speed and I get all this other stuff. Or I need security and I get all this other stuff. So like, okay, let's like explain as best we can, like their highest priority item, and then let the rest kind of sink in as they maybe do self-discovery, or they're reading our website. They're like, oh, they do all this other
Or
stuff
they
too.
could opt, if they say, hey, I want the speed ebook, and then you send them that, and then you say, oh, hey, we have these other ebooks too. You could let them click. Maybe you have sequences for each one, or they could get them, but it's not in the forefront. Like, here's all the ebooks, because I don't know about you, but when I get an ebook, sometimes I get a little overwhelmed. Okay, now I have to, it's that initial, like this is going to fix the thing, but then it's that initial, okay, now I have to consume and implement this content. So, if I buy something on AppSumo, okay, great. Now I have to figure it out. I have to spend some time and invest some time in doing that, and not just kind of push it to the side. So I think that overwhelm is what you would want to avoid, but also, that segmentation. Even if you do what you're doing now and give everybody the all the stuff, just knowing what they initially signed up for might let you do a specific sequence of emails based on that.
Yeah. I like that. I dig it. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about like our email stuff and like the sequences we send. Do you, I guess it's answers to most things, like it depends or it's contextual, but are you seeing at all any shift towards more like campaign or broadcast emails that are regularly sent, as opposed to maybe a sequence or like a one email, a welcome email? I feel like a lot of the emails I get, at least that I opt into, are like people putting together an email every week about something new they're reading, or maybe it's some are newsletters, like some I guess I would categorize as newsletters, but others I wouldn't, they're like sent at that frequency that you could technically designate them as a newsletter, but like I don't think of them as newsletters. It's like, I'm thinking about this thing this week, here's my little 500 word essay on it. And like they send out Paul Jarvis used to do his Sunday dispatches, but I didn't never think of that as a newsletter. It was just like, here's what Paul thinks this week.
That's the email. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm be interested to hear if that's something that you help clients with. Like, do you help them craft their copy as well as strategy? Like, are you also writing stuff for people, or are you really just kind of the behind the scenes consultant on like, here's what you should do?
I think before I answer that, you mentioned about people doing more automations versus more newsletter stuff. I think that for the smaller client, right, the small business, especially someone who has not done any email marketing, they are very hesitant to do the automations. I can talk them into a welcome email just because I'm like, you need to send somebody something. They sign up for your list. You have to send them something. And normally that's okay, but people get really hesitant with the automation because they think they've been removed from the equation and automations are going to fire. They're not going to understand it. So I think it does depend on the size of the client. Obviously, a larger client or somebody who's been doing this longer, they understand the benefit. But I would love to sell more automations to existing clients because I think that would be, just like, they read this blog post and then give them this information and kind of nurture them. But that's neither here nor there. So I don't generally help with content, but I do set everything up. So, I can match your branding, or maybe we have a designer or a template already created. We talk about subject lines and when's the best time to send. And here's a report based on what happened. And hey, here's how to get more people to sign up for your newsletter, that kind of stuff. But really, I rely on them to write the content. And I'm hoping that they're already creating some content somewhere else on their website, preferably. But if not, then, maybe they're writing social media posts or something. Like, hopefully they're telling their audience something, because otherwise, if they're not, they probably aren't going to have a very successful email list. And that's another thing. I know I'm going on a tangent. Some people think that you have to have like 1 billion subscribers to start sending emails, but I always tell people that it's better when it's just your mom and your friend, because then you can work out all the bugs, right? You send that weird email with that subject that's wrong, and you work it all out, and they're really happy to get it because they're like, oh, look what Joe's doing. He did this thing. We love him so much. And then as you work it out, you work out your voice, you work out when you're going to send and what you're going to send and that kind of stuff. Then as your audience builds, then it kind of just meets, and that's great. So don't wait. And also, like, your audience isn't going to stick around if people sign up, but they're not going to stay signed up if you never email them anything. Or as soon as they get an email from you a year later, they're going to be like, who's this guy?
It's so weird when you get that. Yeah, it's like, did I ever sign up for this?
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
And then maybe I'll click,
So
I never signed up for this, even though I did sign up for a year ago, and it'll like hurt your deliverability and stuff.
Yeah, spam, complaints.
Yeah. Okay. There's 2 other things I did want to talk about. You already mentioned one, which was subject line stuff. So I'm trying to remember this. 1, subject line. 2 is deliverability. So I'm going to come back to deliverability in a second, but the first is subject line. Obviously it's another one of those. It depends, and you want to get people to open it, but you also want to get people to click. Quick story that I sent out an email once, and in the subject line, I did A/B testing. ConvertKit allows you like A/B test subject lines. And so I had a subject line, and then that was my A test, and my B test was I just put FWD : in front of it.
Oh, okay.
So it's like forward. Because my thought was, okay, people are going to see FWD and they're going to think someone forwarded it to them, and they're going to be more likely to open it. That was my hypothesis. Because I'd seen some people do it before, and I was like, it's a little weird and kind of like spammy, but like, I also, like, if the right person sent it to me, I'm like, whatever, like, I get it. Nice job. You got me. But I found that people definitely clicked that forward one at a higher rate, but they clicked links at a super low rate.
Okay. Once they saw it, they were like, ugh.
I think they didn't like it coming from me as much. So I guess that's a little story about subject lines, but I don't know, best practices around subject line. Should I like have numbers in my subject line? Should I have like parentheses? Like, I don't even know. Is it just about experimentation and just kind of like seeing what your audience
opens? I think it is. I try to make it like a subject line interesting enough, that I would want to click on it, but still representative. I tried to write blog posts with, very clear informative titles. Not the clickbaity stuff. It's the same. I do the same with email. Yes, maybe sometimes I'll throw in an emoji. It really just depends. But yeah, I try to make it, of a nice length, not too short, not too long. That is, again, representative of what's in the email. But yes, you can, go down the rabbit hole with this, just like you can with your blog post titles, right?
Yeah.
The analysis and the emotional words and the non-emotional words. I think it just depends where you are in the process. So again, like a beginner client who just signed up for email marketing, my goal is to help them get an email out. Not necessarily like we have crafted the perfect email subject, but as time goes on, right? It's like you want to run a marathon. Okay, you run that first mile. Okay, great. When are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? You have the right shoes, whatever. And as time goes on, you do more, you get better. So that I would think is, a little bit further down the line, as you're doing this for a while. And then, you're spending more time. You do the A/B testing. You see what works. Yeah, maybe you personalize, right? So you put Joe, comma, something, question mark. And sometimes, that gets a good response. So.
I tried that one time and I accidentally actually put Joe instead of the first name. Everybody got an email saying, "Hey, Joe." And I actually got pretty good clicks, but I definitely got a few replies like, "Nice job."
Nice.
Oops, well, 10,000 people just got an email. That
awesome.
was to me, myself. So, okay, quickly, I also want to talk a little bit about deliverability because I think that's super important. So one thing you mentioned already, which was if someone doesn't open an email for 5 emails in a row, just automatically unopt them and say, "See you later." That's obviously going to help with your rate of opens. And when email service providers see your open rates, they'll say, okay, it's better. They're more likely to deliver it to a certain mailbox, I guess, not a spam box. And Gmail has certain with categories of stuff. I keep my email just unread and read. So I don't even really know about those different category things. But there's also some, I think you mentioned this towards the beginning of this episode, actually, some verification you can do, which I can't even really remember. It's SKID.
There's SPF records.
SPF.
There's DKIM records.
DKIM.
What is the other one? It just completely flew my mind.
Oh,
DMARC
2 or 3
records.
of them.
Sometimes DMARC records. Yeah. Yeah, you can't, in any platform, you authenticate the domain first, and they normally tell you, hey, add these records. And you put those records in. But you want to send emails from you@yourdomain.com. I have some clients that will roll in with a Gmail address. No, don't do that. You can ask people, hey, whitelist me, in that initial welcome email. Hey, here's, for Gmail, here's how to add me to your contacts. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think I have problems. Yeah, I haven't either. But I don't think I have problems getting those emails. So if I got it, I don't know, you could probably drag it. Yeah, if it's in promotions, but I look at promotions, so I guess it really just depends. But yes, if people aren't opening the email, then you send them that, hey, I see you're not opening my emails, and please.
I think those are probably 2 good practices. One is all those, would you call them verification?
Yeah, like DNS records.
DNS records. That's just a good best practice. You should always do that with your email service provider. Trimming your list, I think, is important. So we were talking about, if someone's not setting up an automation, so if someone's not even opening emails, just stop sending them emails, right? Don't pay to send emails to someone who's not engaging with you at all. Anything else that you feel for deliverability is going to help?
The domain, use a legit email, you at your domain, or hello at your domain, not a no reply or anything like that. A nice email address. You could also say, I don't know if this makes a difference, but you could say in the email too that you reply to the emails. That might make it a little bit more personal. I don't know that that's going to necessarily help the deliverability, but if that is delivered and people see that, maybe they're more likely to reply. So maybe then, you have that conversation going, your email provider sees that there is some, correspondence, I guess, happening. It's not just a case where you're blasting out emails and nobody's reading them.
I could see that. It's kind of proof that if there's a reply thread there and the email service provider, maybe Google theoretically can see that, and they can also theoretically, but definitely they probably do this, right? They're oh, well, he's sending emails, Joe is sending emails, and people are replying to them. So, and they're not just unsubscribe. there's some value being provided there. So maybe I'll bump his deliverability or the WPBuffs.com deliverability a little bit. So yeah.
I think another thing you can do on the front end is, I do double opt-in. Some people don't because, and just kind of protecting those sign-up forms. You could put captchas on them or whatever. So people who are signing up are really, really sure, they're the ones who are signing up for themselves, and they verify within the email, hey, are you sure you want to be on this list? Yes. So I think that's getting good people on your list, not good people, but getting people on your list who want to be on your list instead of, because people could spam your contact forms,
right? I could put my friend's email address in. I know people who've been from just playing a joke on whoever just by throwing their email.
But then that person could be like, hey, I didn't get this and mark it as spam. So that hurts. So you could make it so that, that double opt-in, you really do have people on your list who want to be there.
Yeah. I can't think of a lot of scenarios where I would not want to double opt-in. I'm trying to think of one right now, just off the top of my head, and I can't think of one right now. I'm sure if I thought for a while I could, but double opt-in seems like, best practices or whatever. You always want to test what's best for you. But I would usually recommend people start with double opt-in because I think you're right. It's also, I think, it's not just an opportunity to tell people, hey, I respect your email address and I respect your privacy, and I'm making sure you signed up for this before I email you. Treating people's inboxes with respect, I think, is important. I think it also adds another opportunity for you to add personalization to things. So our opt-in is hey, we're just it's making sure you're not an alien, or making sure you're human. And you can personalize that confirmation link in ConvertKit. And I say it's buff-tastic with the bicep emoji. So it adds some hey, we didn't just keep the boilerplate, opt-in email. It's hey, this is going to be a fun experience. You don't have to click confirm. That's cool. But that's why we're sending you this. But if you do click confirm, you're coming along for this ride that hey, we're doing this together. Let's shoot some emails back and forth. And I think that is a good opportunity,
And people expect that, right? People expect that they sign up for something, they're going to get something, whether it's a confirmation or a welcome. And those welcome emails have the highest open rates because people just signed up. That's when they want to do the thing. They don't want to hear from you. I mean, they may be, but they really want to hear from you now. 3 months later, jury's out. But now is the time to capitalize on it. So yes, customizing all of that, making it look like your branding, consistent across all your platforms, sending them the thing, they're interacting with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I always go any software I use that's client facing or person facing at any point. I go through those settings methodically. I don't know if I'm sure you've opted out of a MailChimp email before, and it gives you that, did you, the little questionnaire, why'd you opt out? But so often people have not personalize that page or not customize it, and it just has email marketing list from 2018 on the top, and it's you didn't even add your logo there. This is totally no wonder I opted out. You're just treating me just like another email subscriber, But I always made sure when I was using MailChimp, yes, I use ConvertKit now, but anything I always go through, try to make it as personalized as possible. I'm sure you could tell when you signed up to do this to set the date for this podcast recording. My Calendly is woo, every setting set. I have an emoji with the date, or with a calendar event. There's a little emoji with a microphone, just because I think that adds another little, this is going to be a special experience. So I'm with that. Cool. All right. Let's start wrapping up. This is an awesome episode. Okay. I learned a ton, and I'm going to have to pay you for a little bit of your time here because you gave us some nice consulting time on WP Buff, so email strategies. So let's wrap up a couple more things. First is I just want you to let folks know where they can find you online, social media, website, all that jazz.
Yeah. So you mentioned my website before. It's renemzw.com. If you go to renemzw.com/connect, you'll find my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, and YouTube, and you can, find me there. It's my first name and last name, which is long, so if you go there, it'll be easier to find. And then also, I guess you can sign up. I have a little email sequence there about how to keep people on your site longer. So, yeah, if you want to jump on that, that'd be awesome. So that I was going to mention before, that's one thing I do too. You don't send an ongoing or a one-off sort of campaign or any broadcast, I do that also. So I do have some sequences, and then at the end, I believe in the sequences, I'll have to check this just to make sure. If you sign up for this video or sign up for, this sequence at the end, you can then opt into my main list. Some people do just add people to their main list, but you don't have to do, you could.
I got you.
You could be a little bit more, keep those things separate if you want. And that way people who do opt in, really want to opt into your main list also.
Cool. I dig it.
Sidebar.
Last but not least, I like to ask our guests to ask our listeners for a little Apple Podcast review. So if you wouldn't mind asking folks to leave us a little review, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, go leave a review.
Hey, awesome. I love it. If you leave a review, wpmrr.com/review takes you right to the iTunes or Apple Podcast page if you're on an Apple or a Mac device. Leave us a star rating. Just a star rating is fine, but if you leave a little comment, something you learned from this episode, something you liked about this episode, it'll give us a little extra idea about content we should do more about in the future. Maybe we'll do some more email marketing episodes if we get some reviews there. So feel free to leave one. We'll also shoot Renee a little screenshot and thank her for the review.
That'd be awesome.
That'll be nice. Yes. If you are a new listener to us here, we got 150 plus older episodes, and we got a search bar on wpmrr.com/podcast. Go and search for whatever you're having a challenge with right now, and listen to some older episodes. No need to binge your new Disney Plus shows or your Apple TV shows. You can binge some WPMRR podcast episodes instead. WPMRR community. It's just at community.wpmrr.com. Renee is going to be doing an AMA there, actually, starting tomorrow. Async AMA. So we're recording this on Monday. This will go live tomorrow. So she'll be in there doing some AMA tomorrow. So if you have some email marketing questions, that's a perfect place to ask. I'm gonna have a ton of questions tonight that are follow-up questions, the ones I had today. So I'm going to ask her there tomorrow. So WPMRR.com, but I forgot the subdomain, which is community.wpmrr.com. If you go in there and participate in the AMA or anywhere in there, all you have to do is sign up to be a part of the community, and you'll automatically be registered for the upcoming WPMRR Virtual Summit coming up September 21, 22, and 23. If you just go to WPMRR.com, it's all the info and details are right on the homepage for that. So very exciting. That is coming up. Ooh, it's soon. September. It's sooner. It seems like it's still like half a year away, but then I remember it's not. It's very close. So go ahead and get registered for that just by signing up for the community as well. Cool. That is it for this week on the WPMRR podcast. We will be in your earbuds again next Tuesday. Renee, thanks again for being on. It's been real.
Thank you so much, Joe. Take care.
See you, everyone.